Their records were all hits, and so was John Lennon's book, in his own right. I've already read it, but I want my own copy. My mother wants a copy. The Beatles went on tours to Europe, Hong Kong, Australia, and New Zealand. They were met by crowds and screaming fans wherever they went. All over the world, boys were copying the Beatles. Many dressed like the Beatles and even began wearing their hair the same way. In 1964, the Beatles' first movie, A Hard Day's Night, opened. Everyone loved it.
They have a kind of magic about them.
Movies with music stars in them have always been poor. This is different. It's great.
A Hard Day's Night was about the Beatles themselves. It told how they felt trapped by their success, but it was a funny movie. The Beatles were always trying to escape from crowds of fans. The movie showed that they knew how to laugh at themselves. In August 1964, they made another American tour. The Beatles gave 31 concerts in 24 cities. Never had the crowds been so large.
I still feel as if someday they'll tear me apart. I wish we could really see some of the places we're visiting.
The newspaper men found the boys well behaved, but odd and funny.
What about the plan in Detroit to stamp out the Beatles?
We have our own plan to stamp out Detroit.
How do you and John write your songs?
We do two things. First, we sit down, then we think about writing a song.
The Beatles became rich, and they made others rich too.
The Beatles really slept on these.
After the Beatles stayed in one hotel, the owner cut their pillowcases into 160,000 tiny squares. He sold each one for $1.
Anyone who wears his hair like the Beatles has to wear a hairnet.
Many boys learned that copying the Beatles could cause them some problems. Everywhere in the world, fans bought Beatle posters, books, magazines, and clothes. After A Hard Day's Night, the Beatles' music changed. It wasn't as simple as it had been in the beginning. I still love their first records. But have you heard Paul's song yesterday? John's songs are even better. Their music was praised by Duke Ellington and Leonard Bernstein.
The Beatles? Great, man, just great.
The best group to come along in years. They've really offered something new.
The Beatles were different from most other groups. Almost everyone liked them. Parents and grandparents were as pleased with their music as their children were. After their 1966 tour of the United States, all the Beatles were very rich. They loved their fame, but it brought troubles too. I'm afraid that some fan might pull Zach right out of his carriage and stick him in his Beatles album. Ringo married his Liverpool sweetheart, Maureen Cox. They had 2 sons, Zach and Jason. What are you doing here? We wanted to see John's wife and son. In 1965, the Beatles were given medals by Queen Elizabeth.
They've brought a lot of money and fame to England.
They are just 4 lucky lads from Liverpool.
Many earlier winners didn't think the Beatles should be so honored. Some even sent their own medals back.
We
We love you.
Beatles! Yay! Yay! Yay!
In August 1965, the Beatles appeared at Shea Stadium in New York. The police were kept busy picking up fainting girls.
Lucky they don't know this is our last home tour. We'd have trouble then.
In December, the Beatles made their last tour of England. In August 1965, the Beatles movie Help began showing. Everyone liked it, but no one thought it was as good as A Hard Day's Night. Help was a funny spy story about a ring that Ringo had. People kept trying to steal the ring. In 1966, the Beatles made a world tour. It was to be their last world tour together.
We love them here!
Everybody loves the Beatles, even when they can't understand their words. But the Beatles made some people angry when John said a foolish thing.
The Beatles are now more popular than Jesus.
They are against God.
John told the public he was sorry. He said he hadn't meant to hurt anyone's feelings. In 1966, George Harrison married Pattie Boyd, a British model. Later, they went to India.
I would like to learn to play like that.
In India, the Harrisons studied with the Maharishi, a well-known teacher. Later, all the Beatles worked with him.
How can we understand ourselves?
Think about your life.
They made more hit records and albums. Revolver, Strawberry Fields, Mr. Kite, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
The words to Mr. Kite were taken from an old music hall poster. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds came from my son. That's what he called one of his drawings. People look for meaning in our songs. Sometimes even we don't know what the words mean.
In July, 150 million people watched the Beatles' TV show, Our World. They're using some strange instruments. They're full of surprises. Brian Epstein died in August 1967. The Beatles missed his friendship and help. In December 1967, the Magical Mystery Tour was shown on TV in England. All the Beatles helped write it. Paul explained the idea of the show.
Going on a mystery tour means that you don't know where you're going until you get there.
Later, the Beatles started a new company, Apple.
There are many people who have good ideas, but no money to help them get started.
They planned to record their music and put some of their money into backing other people's ideas. Apple closed after a few months.
The people we chose were not trained well enough.
In early 1968, all the Beatles went to India to study with the Maharishi again.
A lot of important people come to him.
In July 1968, another movie opened. It was a cartoon called The Yellow Submarine.
This is an easy movie to make. We just watch while the artists draw us. Well, we do appear for a few minutes, and they use our voices.
This movie showed that the music of the Beatles could make all kinds of people happy. In 1969, John Lennon was married to Yoko Ono.
John has changed. He is interested in new things.
Paul married Linda Eastman, an American photographer.
I want to make my own album, McCartney. If you do it now, you will hurt the sales of Let It Be.
More and more, Each of the Beatles was going his own way.
I don't like our manager, Alan Klein. Well, he has helped us quite a bit.
Let's talk about something nice, like our last album, Abbey Road.
Meanwhile, John returned the medal the Queen had given him. He wanted to show that he was against war. In May 1970, the Beatles movie, Let It Be, came out. It showed how they worked together.
In this part,
That's a good idea. They never finish the sentences, yet they seem to understand each other.
But each of the Beatles began working apart from the group.
My album is doing well.
And so is my song, Give Peace a Chance. I'm writing songs too. All Things Must Pass is doing all right.
I may not have my own records, but I act in movies.
In December 1970, Paul asked the court to say that the Beatles didn't have to be a group any longer.
I didn't leave the Beatles. The group just doesn't work together anymore. We should all go our own ways.
Once Paul left, the rest knew that the group had to break up. No one could take the place of one of the Beatles. The Beatles were 4 boys from Liverpool who came together to sing. They were an important part of the 1960s. Ringo likes acting and making movies. Paul, Linda, and their 3 daughters live on a farm in Scotland. They have their own group called Wings. George holds concerts to raise money for starving people. He also makes records and appears on TV. John and Yoko are still joining protests. People still write about the Beatles, and everyone hopes that somehow they will get together again.
Then, tragedy struck. On the night of December 8th, 1980, John Lennon was shot as he returned to his apartment in New York City.
Mr. Lennon?
He died a few hours later. Mark Chapman, his accused killer, was captured by the police. He had been a fan of John's. John's wife, Yoko Ono, said that she was not bitter over her husband's death. She wished only for peace and love among all people. This is not a time for hate. Later, Yoko took their 5-year-old son, Sean, to the place where John was killed. The little boy tried very hard to be brave.
Now Daddy is part of God.
Yoko did not plan a funeral for John. Instead, she asked that his fans observe 10 minutes of silence in his honor.